Give you a shout out. Hello, welcome. Thank you for being here with us. Love you, miss you. All right, I almost can't see the things now. That is looking, whoops. Whoa. Pretty good, right, guys? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to move my stool up. Okay, so remember, really quickly, we're talking about a folk artist today. Her name is Heather Gala. She was born in 1970 in Mexico. She is a contemporary artist because she is still living and working as an artist right now, still to this day. She is known for this kind of fun, whimsical, childlike style where she uses patterns to create a really fun effect in her work. She does a lot of landscapes, still lifes. Remember, a landscape is when you draw a picture of land, and a still life is when you draw something still, like a vase of flowers or a bowl of fruit, something that's sitting still. When it's outside, it's going to be more of the landscape. And remember, a portrait, of course, which she does also do, is going to be when it's a picture of a person. Self-portrait is a picture of who? Yourself. A family portrait is a picture of who? Your family. And then, of course, a portrait just in general is meaning it's a picture or a drawing or some kind of art of or a photograph of a person, but not necessarily your family or yourself. So we're going to start with a black and white drawing. If you want to draw, this is one that I just kind of did, ahead of time. If you want to start with a pencil, you definitely can. I always, of course, start with marker, even in class, because people can't even see all the way from some of the tables when I'm on the board or something. I always still use black marker so everyone can see, but you can use black marker today. You can use oil pastel, anything that's black. If you have a black Sharpie, if you have black ink, I'm going to be using, I'm going to draw with a bingo dabber. And some of you have used these in my class before, and it's just what people would use when they go to play bingo, or if you play bingo, you kind of just dab or a little dot, just like this. Some of you have drawn before with these. They come in different colors, but I actually bought these on Amazon for, they're empty, and then I fill them with black ink. So I'm going to use black ink like this and draw today, just for time's sake. But if you want to draw in pencil first, and trace over with an oil pastel or a black Sharpie, or even some of you might even have those paint sticks. We have these at school. It's like, I love these things. But it's a paint stick. It's almost like a chapstick or a glue stick. And the pigment that comes out on top is also whatever color it is, but you draw with it, and it's actually more of a paint than a marker. It's very cool. So if you have a paint stick, you can use that. But anything that is going to draw in black, and of course, like I said, if you want to start in pencil first, go for it. It will just take a little longer, but for you guys to see well, and so that we have time, I'm just going to go right to the black. And in this case today, I'm going to use the bingo dabber to draw. Now, the first thing is I do have a sheet of paper. Okay, so grab a white sheet of paper. And I do have paper underneath, and I'm going to go ahead just so that you can see the difference of my papers. If you notice on this one, I did a black framed edge around the outside. Of course, same as this one. Same thing here. You can do that with any kind of black marker. Just make sure, or pastel or paint pen, ink, whatever you have. Paint, even black paint. But make sure that you have paper underneath, because you're going to need to go off the side of the edge. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to take, whoa, that was really inky. Very inky. Super. Almost too inky, people. Okay, I'm just going to kind of go. I'm going to slide my paper a little more. And I'm just kind of framing the edge. You can do this with a marker. I mean, if you should have used a marker, because my ink is drippy. It's dripping, peeps. It's dripping. So I'm just going to do this, and that way you're going to have a nice kind of framed edge on your artwork. And you can kind of see that I just did that all the way around. And I'm actually going to flip this over just so that I have a cleaner surface. But don't do that if you don't have something under. I have other paper underneath there. Okay. now you can kind of see the piece of paper, at least. That's why I wanted to start with that, so that you can see the paper I'm working with. Now, Heather, when she's doing, we're going to do a still life. And a still life, remember, is something sitting still. So we're going to do a pot of flowers, something like this. We're going to add some patterns and some of the fun designs with the flowers. I'm going to show you a few different styles of flowers. And then when we add paint later, if you want to add just crayon or marker, you can do anyway, but I am going to show you how to do a resist. Remember, resist is pushing something away, and you can do it with either crayon or oil pastel, because either the oil or the wax from the crayon will push the paint off, and you'll get that cool, where those neon vertical stripes are going down, you'll get that cool effect where it kind of pushes it off from underneath. A lot of you have done some type of resist at some point. But it's a really cool effect that we're going to use today. Okay, so when you're drawing your flower, let me draw some in different mediums. That way, people who don't all have ink don't feel bad. So I'm going to use a paint stick first. Say this is a marker, it's a pencil, whatever you're doing. You want to draw from the middle up, the flowers. The middle down is going to be, is going to be the flower pot and the table. So make sure when we're drawing the flowers, we want to take about halfway and go up, and this is where we want to fill in with flowers and leaves, all right? Now, when Heather is creating some of her flowers, she really has a fun, whimsical style. So in this one, I'm just going to do a kind of a small circle and do kind of rounded petals, okay? Hopefully most of you have started with me. Maybe you're doing the outline. Maybe you're drawing in pencil. That's okay. I'm going to do another one like that. But both of these, she adds these kind of cool circles and other patterns around her flowers. And this one, I'm going to make it look like it's overlapped because they're in a bundle. Okay. So that was just using a paint stick. You could do the same thing with a marker, pencil. Then I'm going to stand up a little just so I have a little more space. And sometimes when you're creating, you need to move a little, so that's okay. Then I'm going to add, this one I'm going to do, and I want to make sure I'm not too drippy first. I'm going to go ahead and do a bigger circle, okay? And this one I'm going to do more of a pointed leaf. Do you see how I have more of this kind of longer pointed petal? And I want you to add something like that, maybe, if you like. And I'm going to actually darken this one just because even though I did that with the paint stick, it's not as dark as I want. However, this could backfire on me big time, people. And my ink could squirt out and ruin my whole thing. But that's okay because I would start again. Now, I have 3 different flowers happening right now. These are just like the buds and with the petals and things. So maybe I want to add another flower. Maybe I want to have a medium-sized circle with a larger kind of rounded petal. Okay, go ahead. Add some of those. It depends. Some flowers have, of course, many, many, many petals. But in general, you find things with like 5 or 6, and then sometimes they overlap in layers. Usually in this type of folk art, it's more of just the flat shape of the flower, something like this. So you don't have to worry about adding that 3-dimensional kind of feel because it has this different kind of look because it's more of a folk art. Now, on this one, maybe I want to kind of come around and add something fun like that around the outside edge. I like that. I'm liking it. Liking it, people. Maybe down here I want to add another flower. This one I'm just going to do a circle and another circle. Now, these, because it's folk art and it's not, it's an artist who's typically not trained by an art teacher. They're usually self-taught, like I said, or some type of tradition passed down from generation to generation. Everything isn't going to look realistic. It's not completely abstract because when I look at this, I can say, well, those are flowers. I know they're flowers. A lot of times abstract, you have to really study it, or maybe even have someone tell you what it is. And then you're like, oh yeah, maybe you get that. Maybe not. But in this case, you can tell they're flowers, but they are not the most realistic, photorealistic. They don't look exactly like every single flower if I went outside of my garden. It's not three-dimensional with every value. We're going to add colors more in a flat way. We're having more of just kind of the motif or the shape of the flower, okay? And have fun with it, you guys. So hopefully all of your, I'm going to kind of read some comments. Hopefully you have started creating and you are, hi Sienna, you are working away. So now I have a bunch of flowers and I still have this negative space down here. This is where I'm going to add that flower pot and my table. But I do want to add in some of this negative or empty space some petals. Leaves, not petals. Leaves of flowers. You can add some of those around. It's a great place to, anytime you have an empty space, it's a great place to kind of just fill in a leaf. Leaves just kind of have those curved lines. You can add some with more veins in it if you like, some maybe none. But kind of fill in some of that space right now. Even if you're working still with pencil first, go ahead and still draw it out with us, okay? Now you can, of course, add maybe a pattern, some kind of cool pattern in one of your flowers. Why not? Go for it. I might add some patterns later too with my oil pastels and my paint and stuff like that. But right now, just with the black, I'm just kind of going in and filling in these spaces. Let's see if I think I would like one more leaf over here. And then I'm going to draw just a few ideas of stems. You don't have to have every stem. It depends what you're seeing. But I did draw some lines in. Let me go closer so you can see. I did add the idea of the stems in some cases. Some cases it's overlapped. So you might not see one because this one is on top of that. Maybe that stem is behind it. Okay? So you don't have to have every stem, but you should have some that kind of draw it down to this pot that we're about to draw. Okay? Now we are ready, people. We are going to go ahead and draw in our flower pot. So when you do a flower pot first, I'm going to show you how to draw the rounded, kind of a curved line. Even though it's straight, it does have a slight curve, which is going to give us the illusion or the idea that it is rounded. So we're going to do that now. Okay. Yours does not have to be the same. If you want to have your own pattern and your own design on your flower pot, go for it, people. I'm going to go ahead and do kind of a curved, rounded line. So first you see the idea. That's the top of my flower pot. And I don't have as much room as I probably would have liked down here for my pot. So I'm going to make my pot kind of run off the edge. I'm going to curve that line down too and curve those in. So my flower pot actually does run off the edge. Even on my other ones, it does run off the edge, but I was able to show a little bit more of my pot. Totally depends what's happening with you. Now I do want to, since my pot is down here, I want to add another stem that comes down here, maybe another one, so I can see other stems connecting, because I know there's more than 2 flowers. So maybe add another one here. Maybe I even see another leaf over here, petal that comes off. Maybe another one over here. Okay. And in my flower pot, I'm just going to kind of add these diagonal cool, oops, that went a little over my edge. I'm going to thicken my line so nobody knows. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw what, when we're doing like a landscape, we call this our horizon line. But in this case, I drew a line from behind my flower pot to the edge of my paper on both sides because I want it to appear like it is sitting on a table, okay? I don't have much room here for my checkered pattern. But you can see here where I must have left a little more room. Somebody was taking up too much space with her flowers this time, I guess. But if you have enough space, you can add a cool kind of checkered effect. And I'm going to show you that right now. This one doesn't have as much space, but I'm still going to do it. So I'm just going to go vertical line, vertical line. Vertical line, vertical line. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to draw, but I'm going to go a little lower, a horizontal line. Horizontal is side to side. Vertical is up and down. Vertical, up and down, baby. Now, I've created where I just did vertical lines and horizontal lines. You see this? Okay, so now I'm going to color in on diagonals, ones that kind of touch in the corners, and I'm going to give it this cool checkerboard effect, which is something that is definitely recognizable in Heather Galler's folk art pieces of work. She has this kind of checkerboard kind of fun pattern very often in her work. Okay, so now you have your framed piece with your still life, something sitting still, okay? And hi, Alia. She just joined. A bunch of people just joined. Welcome, hello, Nolani, hi, Zia. And once you get this, and if you're drawing in pencil first, and then you're tracing with marker or oil pastel or ink or paint pen or whatever you've going, do not rush. I'm only going ahead just because we only have a certain amount of time while we're doing this. You can always go back and rewatch it all day today for the next 24, and tomorrow for the next 24 hours till tomorrow on Instagram on my story, or I, of course, upload and archive everything on YouTube at Art Class with Ms.A, MS.A. So you can always go back. And on YouTube, it's there forever, okay? I think it's more fun, of course, to do it with us, but if any time to do it is a great time. Or maybe you want to go back and do it again or try it again or learn something else, go for it, okay? So now we have this. We're going to add some color. Now I have some over here that I already did. And because I'm going to do a resist, do you see how I added this kind of neon? It's an oil pastel, these lines in the background, but if I go close, you can see them. So we're going to do that now. So what I did, you can do this with a crayon or oil pastel, whatever you have. And I am just going to, and the reason why is because when I add the paint later, remember I want that kind of to push off, to resist it, to push it away. And it's going to have that kind of cool watercolor effect in the background, okay? So I'm going to go ahead. I'm just using oil pastel, but a crayon works totally great too. And I'm going to draw some vertical lines, almost like a wallpaper or a pattern. Remember that Heather always adds these fun kind of patterns in her artwork, little different designs. Remember, a pattern is an element of design. And we've talked about the elements of art and the elements of design, but it is an element of design. And pattern means that you are repeating something. You're doing it over and over and over again. But in our case, we're repeating something to create a beautiful design. And right now we're just doing a vertical line. So I'm kind of going up. Every time I hit a flower, I pick up my pen, or my pastel, I guess, not a pencil. I pick it up and I lift it up, and then I just draw the line where it would go, or where I think it would go. Here, I wouldn't know what's happening behind here, but I'm just guessing. I'm going to say, oh, it's about that far away. I'm going to come down with a line there and keep going. So anywhere that you would see in the background, remember that's the things that are behind your flowers, the background. Anything that you would see back there. Some people might want to add a window looking outside. Maybe this is inside and you're looking outside at a beautiful sunny day. I don't know what you're drawing, but I can't wait to see them. Make sure you send them. Make sure you send them. A lot of you are doing really good at that. Some of you are not sending them to me. Please do. Okay, so hopefully you are just keep going with us. And I'm not blending my oil pastel, but you can see that real close up? I am adding these kind of vertical lines that are going to go through that background negative space. And I'm going to finish it off really quick. I'm going to keep going. One more over here. Ta-da! Beautiful. Okay, so now I have my still life of my pot of flowers sitting on the table. Okay, I have the patterns down there. I have a couple patterns and leaves and different style flowers. And then I have this beautiful kind of background where I've just created that line. Could you color it all the way in? Yes. You could just start coloring it in. You could use marker. You can do anything you want. You could also do the marker with the water, with a paintbrush and some water like we've done so many times. So please do that. Hi, Luke. Miss you. Hi, Sophia. Just reading some more stuff. I messed up a little. Do not worry if you messed up. You can either flip your paper over, erase, go back, Or sometimes turn it into something else. You guys know I do that all the time. Someone will be sitting there sad about something, and I'm like, hold on. And I just pull out the marker and turn it into something else. And no one ever knows. Even better. Okay. So we're going to keep going. Now we're going to add some color. If you want to add with marker, chalk pastel, oil pastel, crayon texture, watercolors, whatever you want. I'm going to paint right now just to show you. But I'm going to use just watercolors and water temperas. Of course, you can paint with any kind of paints that you have. If you have acrylic paints, watercolor paints. Remember, you guys all know my old trick of add an old marker in a little jar, a cup of water, and you have some liquid watercolor. You can paint with that. Whatever you have, use it. Use it, guys. That's what we're working with here. So I'm going to get a brush. I'm going to start painting. Now, I wanted to, just like in this one, kind of just have fun with the colors. She really does have fun with her colors. If you look again, now this is just a printout and it's not as vibrant as it really is. But you get the idea of all the fun colors and the layering and the patterns and the curvy lines and the kind of whimsical fun design. So don't be afraid. And here too, this one really. Now this one, of course, is a portrait of an angel. Love this one. But you can kind of tell also with this style, with her fun patterns. See those green polka dots or the stripes on her neck, or the kind of cool textures in her wings of those flowers, all that fun stuff. So you can add fun stuff like that as well. Totally up to you. But I am going to have fun with the color right now. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to go into some fluorescent kind of pink color. Why not? Make sure, even with watercolor or water temper or whatever you're doing, if you're using one of these, that you make sure you mix it up enough so that pigment really gets going. If you notice the whole time I'm talking to you, I really am just putting a little water in there and getting that pigment really good. So I'm going to go ahead, I think I'm going to make this flower actually pink itself. So I'm going to do that. Can you layer colors? Yes. Can you do watercolor now, let it dry, and add pastels or marker on something on top? Yes, please do. That would be amazing. I would love it. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so if you're not adding color yet, do not try to rush. I'm just going a little faster so that we can show you all the different techniques. And I, of course, already made a few examples yesterday and this morning, and I had a whole bunch of different pictures ready to go. I already had my still life ready to go. So you might not be ready yet, but don't rush just because I'm keeping it going, okay? Remember, you can always go back. I think because I like to use the same color somewhere else in my art, I'm going to take the center of this flower and I'm going to make that same pink, okay? I'm going to rinse off my brush. Make sure if you are painting that you clean your brush, dab it nice, get all that pigment and color off of there. Make sure your brush isn't crying. Mine kind of is crying. Do you see that? That's sad. It's a sad brush. No, it's a happy brush. Happy. Oh, no, now it is happy. Oh, kind of. Not even. Well, there you go. I don't even know if it's happy yet. But it's happy because it's painting, people. It's a happy brush. Any brush painting is a happy brush. All right, so I'm going to keep adding.
It's 12:47.
Thank you, Mimi. Mimi just gave me the time. Keep me on track. All right, Mom? And I'm going to start adding some of my leaves. Try not to paint two wet areas right next to each other. As you guys know, when you put two wet areas together, they kind of bleed together, and they can, mess up your color a little, make it not exactly what you were going for. You can always wait for it to dry or wipe some off and fix it, but in general, try to be careful, okay? I'm even going to paint, do you see how I'm even painting a little bit over my black lines? This I'm adding a little yellow, like a yellow into my green to kind of give it almost more of a yellow-green color, which of course would be a tertiary color. Remember when you mix a primary and a secondary, so yellow would be your primary, green's your secondary. If you mix those two, you've created a tertiary, yellow-green. Yellow-green has made a tertiary color. Everybody say it. Tertiary. I bet Caroline knows how to spell it, and it's a tricky one. All right, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to add some more. Maybe different tints of green. Maybe you're using the marker and you're adding a little water with your paintbrush. That's amazing too. Easily something that can give you such a beautiful effect. Okay, so either way. Now I'm going to keep going. I want to do, let's see. I think I want, what color? I think I want a blue. I want some blue. Like a turquoisey teal color. Turquoise, of course, is like a blue-green. Also a tertiary color. Tertiary. Because you're mixing blue, a primary, and your secondary would be the green, which is really a tertiary color. Now I'm going to kind of add this turquoise in on my petals here. I might go back and get a little more paint. Okay. Sometimes you might want to do a second coat. Maybe it's a little thinner than you liked it, or it wasn't exactly what you were thinking. Go back and add it. Not a problem whatsoever. Whatsoever. Now, I'm going to do that. I'm going to rinse my brush, and I'm going to read some comments while I'm rinsing. See if I can do that. Oops, someone said, tertiary. I got a nice correct spelling there. She also said, boom. She dropped the mic, guys. She dropped the mic. And I believe it, too. Like, you're always thinking. And your spelling game is on point, sister. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get into this magenta. And I'm going to I think I'm going to put this around the outside. So I'm going to fill in here. And this kind of fun circle around my fun flowers. And so are you adding color? If you are adding color, let me tell you what's happening right now. I want to hear about it. If you are adding color, you work probably faster than me, because I would still be, I might be done drawing it, but I'd probably be tracing it in black right now if I was one of you. But I'm going speed time, people. And I'm going to add a little more there. Okay, beautiful. I like it. I actually want to add a second coat because I feel like it's not as, there we go. It's not as vibrant as I'm going for. I want it to really pop. And remember, don't worry about perfection in this, because you do want it to have that kind of folk art feeling. And that feeling, well, the one good thing is that you guys are young. So you're going to probably already have the cool, whimsical, childlike feeling, which people strive to do, but it usually only comes naturally, organically from a child, just because you are cool and have youth behind you. And you're still have all the magical stuff that happens in your brains. So when you get to adults, sometimes it's harder to get this style. But if you are a perfectionist, you might try to be making it so realistic and adding value and different things. But in this case, this style with this folk art kind of self-trained or passed down techniques, you really can just kind of let it go. Don't worry about that kind of stuff, and just have fun adding the color and the pigment in fun ways without trying to make it the most realistic, perfect painting you've ever had in your life. And sometimes, as you guys know, when you're just feeling the flow, surrender into the flow, it just happens, right, guys? It just happens. And you're like, whoa, loving it. Loving it. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. I'm going to flip my paper so you can see. Let's make sure you can all see that. Nice. That's looking good. Okay. And now I'm going to just keep finishing my flowers, really. I think I want orange, so I'm feeling orange. Like, where's my orange at? Come on, orange. Orange needs a shout out. Anybody's favorite color is orange? Orange gets neglected, I feel like. Right? I feel like it gets neglected sometimes. So we're not neglecting it today, guys. I'm going to do a pattern, though, and do like every other one. And luckily, I had the right amount of lines, because that could have backfired on me. Does that ever happen when you didn't count it out and you're trying to repeat a pattern and you're like, oops, and then you have two oranges or two of one color next to each other because you didn't measure or count it first? Guess who that happens to all the time? Timmy. I'm just going to say it, guys. No matter what I do, I'm always just trying to make things and do things instead of always taking 2 seconds to slow down and measure it or count it out. I get so excited that I forget to do that sometimes. Okay, so now I'm going to keep going with these petals, adding some color. And this pink is pretty dry, so I think what I'm going to do on top of that pink is add some oil pastels to add a little more resist in my artwork. I don't know if you guys did any resist yet. I haven't shown you how I'm going to do that yet. Well, kind of. But I haven't done it on any flowers, so let's do it. Let's do it, guys. So I'm going to take just an oil pastel. In this case, I'm going to take, actually, I think I'm going to take yellow or hot pink. What should I do here? Let's think. Maybe I'm going to go bright orange. Okay, I'm going to do like a fluorescent orange. And in this one, I'm just going to kind of create a fun, just circle kind of coily line. Just add a little more. That area is dry. Make sure you're not doing that on wet paint. It's going to mess up your paint and your tools. You could do this with crayons too. I'm going to add a little pink on there. Why not? Go for it. Why not, girl? Okay, I'm going to add some here. Okay, that's beautiful. And I think I'm actually going to even color in the center of that circle with orange. That's cute. Okay, I like that. And I might take some of my green pastel. Some of my petals are still wet, so you're going to want to test them first. This one's dry, so I'm going to add a little bit of pastel on that. Be careful if your paper is wet. You guys know that your paper can tear, so be very careful so that you're not ripping your gorgeous masterpieces. And I think this guy's going to have actually a green center. I'm going to color him in green. So some's paint, some's pastel. You could be using crayon, marker, whatever you got going. Okay, don't stop just because you don't have exactly the same materials as everybody might have or may not have, may or may not have. Okay. Now, inside of my pot here, you can see I have this kind of empty, but that would be in the pot. So what do I want to do in there? I could add a boring color like brown, like dirt, but I might do something more fun just because why not? Why not? I'm going to add some pink in there with some pastel, just for fun. And then I think I might even take and paint over it with a little of this kind of reddishy, fluorescent red kind of color. It is going to resist it a little, but it's going to fill in all the empty spaces, so it's going to leave a really cool effect. Okay, there you go. And then I am going to leave my pot black and white. I'm going to leave my checkered area black and white. You can color yours if you like, but right now I'm going to move to the background and get that beautiful background. Now remember, I did take my oil pastel and I created that vertical line kind of background. Okay, so if you have not done that, you might want to add some kind of pattern. Does it have to be vertical lines? No, it could be horizontal lines. It could be zigzag lines. It could be curvy lines. It could be a window looking outside into a beautiful, mountain scene. Whatever you like going on, that's fine. I'm going to read some of these. Let's see. Someone dislikes pink. Well, guess what? We should have start a revolutionary war. Pink. Well, that's so funny. Okay, well, guys, let me tell you something. So I love every color, as you know, but I didn't ever think I was like the biggest fan of pink. I also was like, yeah, pink. It seemed like, I don't know. I don't want to sound, like it was just one way or the other, but it seemed very girly to me. And I was always like, pink, whatever. And it wasn't my style. That's what I thought. But then when I had Alia, my first daughter, people started buying me pink things and pink stuff. And the next thing you know, I was wearing pink. I love pink. I was like, I don't know why I was really not a fan of pink, but give it a chance, guys, because it's actually a pretty cool color. Now I'm like pretty into pink. I'm just going to say it. I'm pretty in pink. All right, so now I'm going to do a background color. In this case, I did kind of that turquoisey teal. And I think it might look cool on this too, but I think I'm going to do actually more of a royally blue. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Mia just fell off a chair. You okay, ma'am? Holy Toledo. Okay. What in the world? All right, so now I'm going to go ahead. Be careful when you are painting the background. You can always add water first. Oops. You can add water first and then add some color. Just go with your watercolor or your paints or your markers, however you want to be adding it. Any way will work. All right. Mia survived her falling off of a chair. What in the world? So silly. Very silly. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. And do you see how my stripes are now appearing? Isn't that beautiful? So that's your resist. Remember, that's pushing it away. And you can use a larger brush if you have more space in this area, like I did switch to a larger brush. But when you get in those smaller areas, be careful. Don't get the paint all over the place. So you got to be careful when you do stuff like that, okay? I'm just going to keep moving. I'm going to slide around. I'm going to rotate my paper too, just so that I can get all those angles, all those different areas of that negative background space. Okay, I'm going to flip it this way. But you're really starting to see how cool. I don't want to lift it too much because it's watercolor and then it will drip all over. Okay, so I'm going to come up here, get the top, fill in. Try to stick around the back side of your flowers. And hopefully you're having kind of a fun, whimsical style with this. You can really have a good time just kind of doing resists in general. You could draw all sorts of secret messages around your house for your family. Maybe make an escape room and write messages in a light pastel where they have to paint over the piece of paper until they get the message. That could be very cool. I'm just saying. Something fun to do. Something crazy and fun to do for your family. Some kind of event. Go down and tell them you can't go to the basement for an hour while you set up an escape room. Mia did something like that. It was cool. There was no watercolor part, but there was secret decoder stuff, and she loves all that spy stuff. So there was all that book fair stuff. That's why she doesn't buy books at the book fair. She just buys spy stuff. And so it came to good use in these past few weeks. So turns out it was money well spent. There you go. Who knew? Who knew when I was like, why didn't you buy any books? Why do you just have posters and secret decoder pens? All right, I'm sure you guys are guilty of that too, some of you. Now, when I go around, I've kind of filled in my whole background. It's looking gorgeous. Really nice. Okay. And if you wanted to add to your flower pot, you can. If you wanted to add maybe more pigment on top, maybe you want your blue darker in some areas or under like a shadow or whatever color you're using. Maybe it's not blue. But maybe you thought it was too light. Especially if you use a regular watercolor like this, you might want to do a second coat. Or maybe you want to add a different tint. Maybe you want it to be like an ombre that goes from a darker blue to a lighter blue to a sky blue and kind of like ombres off the paper. You can do something gorgeous like that too. I know you guys love that. You say, oh, Ms.A, that is so satisfying. Like when I cut through clay or when we have a beautiful ombre. Love you guys for that. Now, the last thing is, before we finish our piece of art, when it is dry, mine is obviously not totally dry yet. But when it is dry, you can either take your ink back or your Sharpie or your paint stick, whatever. I'm just going to use a paint stick right now just for convenience. But if you want to, if you painted on top of the black too much and you want some of that black to pop out again, you definitely can go back with your ink or your marker pigment and go back and redefine any of those lines so that the paint didn't take over or so that your design or your actual pattern wasn't lost. Sometimes it's cool to just leave it in that kind of fun style without going back. Sometimes you want to come back and add a little bit more just so that it gives it that final pop, okay? Which is kind of what I'm doing here. I'm kind of redefining my, oops, that one is a little sloppy, but I'll just go back and make my line fatter. But you can do that, maybe some of your pattern, okay? I'm going to come around. Make sure you take your time when you're doing this so that you're paying attention to all the different areas that you did. This one looks like it needs a little TLC right here. Oh, there we go. Come back. Make mine pop out. Look at that. I'm loving it. If you wanted to add another pattern right now, you definitely could. If you wanted to leave your checker just as a checkerboard, but color your flower pot, 100%. Go for it, people. Make sure that you guys send me these, okay? But remember today, we talked about an awesome contemporary artist. Remember, contemporary means that this artist is still alive and working. We talked about folk art. Remember, folk art means that it is an artist who is self-taught and or passed down by generation to generation. I'm going to flip my camera slowly. Okay. Hello, everybody. There we go. Sun shining again today. I like that. I always have to go outside when the sun is shining. Otherwise, I'm like, well, there's so many days it's not. So you just have to do it when it's happening, right? You just have to live in the moment. Live in the now, guys. So remember our artist, Heather Galler, folk artist. She's contemporary artist. She's still living and working as an artist today. She's a folk artist because she was self-taught. She was born in Mexico in 1970. She taught herself most of her techniques, which include kind of this whimsical style and patterns and fun designs and bright colors. Oops, I'm dropping stuff. And remember, she does things like portraits. Remember, this one was a portrait of hers of an angel. She does still lifes, like what we did today is something that's sitting still, like a vase of flowers or a bowl of fruit. She does landscapes, things that are outside, outdoors, land, pictures of land. And then this, of course, was our final one. We also, remember, incorporated, besides pattern, resist.